Awesome.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year. It is so good to see your faces. Welcome to the launch of Speak. Woo! We are so excited to have all of you guys here watching here. We're excited to have Speak launching today and actually happening today. It's so cool. It's so great and it's so exciting. My name is Kathleen Meredith. I'm a writer, a speaker, a positivity igniter. But today and for the rest of this week, I have the distinct pleasure of being your host for the birthing of Speak Suicide Prevention, which is an incredible endeavor put on by a lot of great people, but it is the brainchild of Miss Rachel Chenoa, who is talented and awesome. I'm going to introduce her in a second. Right now, when you're listening, though, we want to just make sure that you follow us on Instagram, Speak Suicide Prevention, and use that hashtag It's Time to Speak. We also want you to go ahead and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're on all those places. And by all means, visit our new website, speaksuicideprevention.org. That's speaksuicideprevention.org. And you can also join our mailing list there. You're going to get inspiration, support, resources, and lots of tools in your inbox. So go ahead and check that out. Thanks so much for being here. I am just overwhelmed. And I am here with the creator, the designer, the innovator, Miss Rachel Chenoa, who is the CEO and director of this new endeavor that just got born today. This new endeavor that is called Speak
Speak.
Suicide Prevention. Rachel, what is up? How are you?
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Kathleen. I am doing great. I'm really excited. I'm stoked right now. I'm just eager to tell everyone about what I've been working on and what I'm trying to do in the community. So I'm ready to go. Definitely follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Use that hashtag It's Time to Speak for today, and that would be awesome. I really appreciate everyone joining us. I'm excited about this endeavor, this initiative that we're on, and this journey that we are starting. So let's get to it, Kathleen.
Let's get to it. So I'm just gonna ask you some questions so people can get to know a little about Speak. For those of you who don't know, we are celebrating all week. So we will be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock and Friday at 7 o'clock, speaking with some really great advocates in the mental health realm and the spiritual realm and in the social justice realm. Lots of different speakers who are going to be coming and advocating and learning a lot about what's going on with
Right.
Speak. So we're celebrating all week and we're learning a lot all week. So we can't wait for you to be there. Tonight's theme, we're going to be talking about empowerment. So we really want you to focus on empowerment today. And me and Rachel are going to not only introduce Speak to you today, but we're also going to be focused on empowerment. So,
Yes.
Rachel, big question. We've been promoting all week and chatting all week and putting up posts and sending out newsletters and
Yes.
all the hustle and bustle of what we've been doing to prepare for this launch. And I'm sure a lot of your followers right now want to know, what is Speak?
Well, Speak is an organization that stands for Suicide Prevention through Empowerment, Action, and Kindness. And our mission is basically to reduce the stigma around suicide and mental health care in the Black and Brown communities by allowing our partners to speak, be heard, and live fully. And through that, our purpose, we're going to combat the rise of suicide in the Black community, eliminate negative stigma around mental health care in our community, amplify access to resources by and support for mental health care in our community, finding providers who may be more like us than someone else that may work differently, and then support and encourage those who've been affected by suicide to speak, to advocate, and to end the silence for more, so more people can survive.
I
So,
love it. Rachel, that's
yes,
amazing. And that is a huge purpose and mission. Congratulations. What an amazing endeavor.
thank you.
And let's learn your origin story. What made you want to get into this work, do this work? I know you have a background in suicide advocacy and prevention. Tell
Yes.
us about you.
Well, okay. for those of you who are just joining and meeting me for the first time, my name is Rachel Chenoa Jones. I have been born and raised in New York all of my life, grew up in Harlem, very committed to my community and people around me. I am a published author, I'm an activist, and I'm a mental health awareness community advocate as well. I'm doing this work because it is very personal for me. I, grew up, I went to college, I have a BBA in human resource management as well as accounting from Baruch College. I have a certification in mental health first aid, so that's something I actually love to do as well. But the story really starts at about 2000 and, well, actually 1999. That's when I first ventured into seeking mental health care for myself. I knew some things, we live through experiences and sometimes they leave marks on us, a little bit of trauma, things that we may need to work through. So I knew I needed to work through some things. So I sought out mental health care and started therapy in 99. For about 6 years, everything was pretty okay. I was addressing current issues, not really the deeper issues that were inside. And in 2005, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. So I had my first diagnosed episode, and I started a cocktail of medications, right? And I had to stop working for a little while, got together, got my meds situated, got back to work. And unfortunately, I was suffering some really strong side effects from a lot of the medications I was on, and it forced me to have to stop working again. So in 2007, I returned to work for a year, and in 2008, things just weren't going the way I needed them to go. So I needed a change. So I actually had my first inpatient psychiatric hold or psychiatric visit in 2008. And I went in for, medication management just to get me on a better plan, figure out what was really deep-seatedly going on in there. And unfortunately, the medicines that I was taking, they were doing more harm than good for me. So I was forced to stop taking some medications. I had a health concern, kidney issues, and things that can come up that a lot of us don't ask about or know about when we're taking a number of different medications. And not being on the meds, not having the proper support, I fell into a really deep depression. And January 3rd of 2009, I attempted to take my life. So I swallowed about 60 pills. I was in my home for about 23 hours before I was discovered. And what saved me is that I had made a call to my therapist at the time in the hopes that EMS would find me as opposed to a family member. And that call is basically what set everything in motion to save me and to make sure I was okay. So January 3rd was the actual date that I attempted to take my life, but January 5th, 2 days later, I celebrate as my rebirth day because that was the day I started breathing on my own again and I regained consciousness the first time. A couple of days later, when I was fully awake and healthy, except for a couple of bumps and bruises, that's where the journey actually started. And of course, I am human, so I wasn't quite happy when I first got up. I was like, oh, wow, I tried something and it didn't work. But I worked through the understanding of finding my purpose, realizing that if we're here, we should be here. And we have a right to live and to live fully, right? So I just decided that I made a decision along the purpose. And it wasn't until I found new therapy and addressed some real hard issues and figuring out what was going on with me, the whys behind the things that were happening, that I was able to make a change and turn that anger into gratitude just for the opportunity to still be here and to speak life over myself and in turn speak life over other people. So.
Wow, that's an incredible story, Rachel. That is, and I knew that story because I we've been talking about this, but I hadn't I hadn't hearing you say it out loud puts it in a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a brief question that's slightly off topic.
Sure.
Slightly, it's not gonna throw you off. Slightly off topic. When you mentioned a couple of very powerful points when you first got your diagnosis with bipolar disorder, and then
Mhm.
when you just kind of decided, I'm not going to do this anymore. I think those are very pivotal points, and I feel like we kind of might fast forward to the I don't want to do this anymore, and a lot of us haven't even gotten diagnosis, and we're just kind of living rough,
Right. Right.
unhappy, unstable, unwell
Right.
lives, and not really thinking, oh, there might be something else that has to happen, or might not get the diagnosis. I guess I just kind of wanted to
Exactly.
know what led you to decide, especially with all the negative stigma around mental health in our community, right?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
led you to say, I'm going to go to the doctor and I'm going to see what is going on with me? Just so if there's someone out there who might be wondering, maybe I need to go speak to somebody, what should they be looking for?
I was struggling. I realized I went to college, I went to night school, I worked in a day. I was, I had a mask. I was performing, I was able to do all of these great things and love one family and friends, but it was always a disconnect there that, if you come home after a great day at work, but you're still lonely and crying,
Mm,
or you feel like no one really understands because maybe you have secrets or maybe you have things that you don't want to expose about yourself. It was feeling of alone. I felt like even though I have a great support system and I always have, I just didn't know how to utilize that because
yeah,
I was afraid of the truth. I had to be
sure.
true and honest with myself about who I am and what I've experienced, and then move through that into the journey, see how it has shaped me as a human. So it was I knew something was off and I was responding to things more aggressively and more deeply. Things would hurt more than just the average, oh, you know what, that's okay, I'll get over it. No, it was, I felt like, everything I had, if you break up in a relationship, right? That's a traumatic event for some people, but some people can just bounce back and say, okay, I'm fine. I knew that I wasn't fine, and I knew that I wasn't operating at my optimal point for
Got
me.
it.
I was professionally up there, intellectually up there, but emotionally, I was pretty empty, and it
Mm,
took a toll on me. And I
yes.
couldn't see my place in life. I couldn't see where I belonged.
Mm, mm,
So I tried. I took a chance and tried. And for a while, I didn't tell anyone I was in therapy.
yeah,
Um, it wasn't something I wanted to talk about because the stigma was, oh, you keep your business to yourself, or you don't tell people that you need help. And why would you go tell some stranger your business? Well,
sure.
sometimes it's actually easier to speak with a neutral party, and
Very
sometimes
true.
you can get um, more unfiltered responses
Yeah,
to your situation, be it pain, be it anger, be it rage, be it depression, all of that together. Sometimes your loved ones are not able to do the work because we don't know,
yeah,
right? We don't have that background, that education. And this is what Speak is about, letting us talk about these things, educate ourselves a bit, empower ourselves, and say, you know what, I'm taking control of this. I know it's not okay that I feel like this.
yeah.
I don't want to feel like this anymore.
Mm,
I had to
yeah.
make a decision for myself. It's work.
I love that you said that there were two things. You realize that, I don't feel right. I'm not happy.
Mhm.
My emotions are all over the place, whatever you're going through. But then there is also part of you that says, I want to try. I want to
Yes.
do something else. I want to try something else.
Mhm.
I feel like that's so pivotal. And I also feel like something else that you said was incredibly pivotal that I want to highlight, which is this idea that, well, you don't just be telling everybody your business, which is such
Right.
a thing for our culture,
Yes, it
right? You
is.
keep your business to yourself. It stays
Mhm.
with your family. You don't got to be telling everybody that went on. But then we have deep
Exactly.
scars and issues and things that
Yeah.
happened, and you never talk about it, and because you never talk about it, it's weird. It's like well, we don't talk about this stuff. We keep it within the family. But a lot of times the family isn't even talking about it.
Exactly.
You know, it's like the
Exactly.
family isn't talking about, no one
You might
sharing.
not be having those conversations.
Exactly.
And
You
so
know,
who are you really talking to then?
so who are you really talking to?
Right.
And where are you really getting your release?
Right.
Was it awkward for you to talk to a therapist for the first time?
Yes. Extremely hard. I mean, it probably took me 8 months to a year to even develop trust.
Mm,
That's a part of going through therapy, though. I mean, again, we are human. We don't automatically just want to, and we've been conditioned to keep our stuff close to us. So really talking about some of the things that may be shameful or embarrassing or hurtful is hard.
yeah.
But there was a process of just getting to know each other with my first therapist. And he was good for that time in my life. But then I
Mm,
realized after the overdose, I needed something more rigorous, more focused, and more challenging for me just to get to a better place.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's hard. It was hard. And it is always hard. The journey is work. I'm not saying any of this is easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it's so great. And the reason why I'm kind of asking these questions because I think it's so important that people hear it from someone who's gone through it, who
Mhm.
has gone through every step from a diagnosis to therapy to medication to it not working to
Yes.
actual suicide ideation to
Yep.
actually trying to commit suicide and
Yep.
coming all of these different processes. I think it's important to hear from them. Look, I'm not just starting this because I want to. I've
Yeah.
been there. You
It's
know,
this
I've
is
been
life.
there and I know
Yeah.
it and I get it and I understand it. And I feel like it's really important for those of you who are listening. Maybe you have been in this situation before, or you know someone who has. Speak is a wonderful birthplace because it is created, developed, and built for us, by
Yes.
us, for us. And we've been there and we get it and we know it and we understand it. And everything you're feeling, it's like, I know, I've been there.
Hmm.
So do not be afraid to share. Do not be afraid to connect. And maybe if you've been afraid to share and connect in other spaces, come share and connect with us. You know,
Right.
let us help, let us trust.
Right.
And
Let's trust each other.
let's trust each other and let's start here. If you're just joining us, we want to encourage you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Speak Suicide Prevention. The hashtag we're using is It's Time to Speak. And we also want you to go ahead and check out our brand new website that just launched today. Woohoo!
Excited.
SpeakSuicidePrevention.org. And you can also join our mailing list and get inspiration, support, and resources. All these tools in your inbox for support. So yeah, we're super excited about that. Rachel, let me ask you another question.
Surely.
I'm enjoying this dialogue we're having.
I
Um,
am too.
you were one of the lucky ones, right? You
Yes.
survived your suicide attempts. Lucky, blessed, universe, divine intervention, whatever you would like to call it.
Mhm.
But you are still here. And so I would like to say happy rebirthday today
Thank
on
you.
January 5th. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. And your rebirth is 13 years, right?
Yes. 13 years today.
13 years today. Wow.
Yes.
Incredible. So
Yes.
I just wanted to discuss those moments when you realized, oh, I'm still on this plane of existence. I'm still alive. And you said you felt disappointment and you were angry. What was the process moving from that disappointment and anger to gratitude?
It was a long process, but
Mm,
it was a process of transparency and actually being angry and telling people, the right people, how I really felt. Um, I think my first words when I when I gained consciousness. I recall saying, "What are you doing here?" Because I saw my family members, specifically my aunt, and I was like, "Why are you here?" Because I didn't realize that I was alive, and
mm,
I was angry when I finally regained consciousness. It was like, so I didn't fit in anywhere. I didn't fit here, so I thought, and then in the very basic thinking of, we feel bad for ourselves at times. I figured God didn't want me either. The universe was like, stay here and suffer.
mm,
But finding safe space and finding space that allowed me to be exactly who I am and to talk out loud and ask questions. For me, the education part was really important because it did empower me to say, okay, this is happening and it's not going away. What can I do now?
Sure.
I think I started the first step to gratitude. I was still inpatient in the psych ward. I woke up angry, and then a part of me was like, okay, well, you did the crime, you're going to do the time. But my experience and my exposure to other people who were there is what changed my focus a bit, because I realized I'm not the only one who's suffering from something. We are all in this process together. And I realized that more people were having this revolving door relationship with certain hospitals and certain practitioners. And I said, this is not okay. How can we change this? How can I help is what came to mind. So even when I was inpatient in the psych ward, I developed relationships that I still actually have to this day. Just empowering other people in my pain, I found strength.
Wow.
And in spaces, I found, more community, spiritual connections, and just knowing that, if you're born, you deserve to be here. It's okay. You might hurt, you might be upset, you might be angry, and rightly so. Talk about those things that are making you angry, but don't live in it. Let's try to change those things. Now that we know what's going on, we can change something.
Yeah.
First step is acknowledging that there's still hope.
Yeah.
So for me, the gratitude didn't take a long time. It kind of was like, okay, people love me. I don't know why. People are still here. I don't know why. What's going on? I don't know why. But I kept showing up for myself. I kept that therapy, even though there were days I just didn't want to go. And some days I wouldn't, I would sit there and say nothing. That's part of the process. But my therapist allowed me to go through the process and gave me a safe space to unpack some things that I didn't know really what was happening.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about them giving you answers. The answers are not in therapy. The answers are inherently inside of us. But we have to speak to ourselves and figure out what it is, get the help that we need, and try to move forward that way. It's a journey. It is not a destination.
Amen.
I am continuously working. One of my great friends and therapists said to me, this is an everyday job. You can't take a day off. Why? Because you're a little wired a little differently. That's all. You may need your meds. That stopped me from having the trauma of starting my meds, stopping my meds, starting my meds. That's a thing. Medication management is a thing sometimes when you're dealing with mental health issues. Some of the meds don't work the way you would like them to. There are side effects. But talking about that and feeling like I was able to say to my doctors, I don't want that. This doesn't work. What works for me? I stayed persistent because I figured out that it was my job to do it. Because I don't want anyone else to have a responsibility over my well-being and my life, except for me and the universe that gives us breath.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If I knew that I could make a change, and in doing those steps, these little things, there's not always a big explosion. Sometimes you're sitting quiet for months and you might not feel that there's a way to go forward, but there's always a way.
Yeah.
In my mind, there's always a way. And it may be different for every person.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. In terms, you said you had to be persistent about your medications and about finding the care and finding my friend who was suffering from depression, she called it remission from depression. She said, it felt like it was cancer. It felt like it was dragging my entire life down.
Yes.
In terms of getting to where you are today, 13 years later, and that persistence you spoke of, what if you don't have that persistence? What if, I feel like that might lead a lot of us to consider suicide. It's like, I can't do this anymore. Nothing's working. These meds aren't working. This therapist isn't working. None of this is working. What would you say to someone who's listening today who it's like, I just don't have it in me for that persistence? I'm tired. I really don't want to do this anymore.
I was tired. I identify wholeheartedly with that. I identify wholeheartedly with the intense pain, emotionally and physically, that you can actually be in when you're suffering. Um, I say to those people, there is hope. You may have a support that you would never think of. It could be in your neighbor who just may say good morning to you. It could be not in your mother where you might want it, or in your brother who may not be around, or in your sister. But don't just isolate and block off people that still may want to help.
Mm.
And look for spaces. Be brave enough to say, you know what? I'm not having a good day. I'm hurting. Can you help me? Can you talk to me? Can you be with me in that space? Sometimes it's just a matter of sitting quietly with someone and letting them be. It doesn't require a whole bunch of tears. It doesn't require a whole bunch of answers. It requires presence.
Yeah.
And find places where you can be present, because that's part of the acknowledging there's still hope. I know it's tiring sometimes. I get tired myself. I mean, I have a few weeks during the year sometimes where things get a little hectic, and holiday season and all of the expectations, and even now with the pandemic and the way that we've all experienced the trauma, right?
Yeah.
I say I know it's hard and it's challenging, but this is why we have spaces like Speak. This is why I want to say, if you think you have no one, you have me, and you have Speak.
Amen.
You have our listeners, right?
Yeah.
So I none of us are just single atoms that are in the universe. We're all connected some kind of way.
Yeah.
Just like a tree has a million roots, you don't see them, but you know they're there.
Yeah.
So just hold on. Hold
Yeah.
on. Sometimes you got to get mad. Say, you know what? I have to do this by any means necessary.
Yeah.
I used to have hashtags for every year, and it was, forget the unnecessary noise. You got to rock out. You got to by no limits, by any means necessary. All of these things that I had to start speaking to myself,
Mm.
and treating myself in a different way, because that's something that's a part of Speak. That kindness aspect.
Yeah.
Something
I
you
love
forget.
that. I love that idea that if you can't keep pushing, if you can't get your car up that hill anymore, if there's
Mhm.
nothing left in you, at
Right.
least be vulnerable. And that's something I have to remember for my own self. If you
Hmm.
can't be persistent, at least be vulnerable. At
Right.
least, put your hand out on the street and be like, I need a hand. I
Right.
need help. I can't go any longer. And
Right.
I think
And
that's
you'll be
so
amazed how
important.
many people may actually respond to that
Yes.
and want to help.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
feel like with the last thing you got in you, at minimum be vulnerable. And I feel like that's really, really hard for
yeah, it's very hard for us to
very
do.
hard. It's like you'd rather be persistent than been vulnerable. It's like, well, what
Yes.
about the days when you can't be persistent? And
Mhm.
I feel like we don't even know the answer to that question because
Right. Not yet, but we will. Like,
yeah,
who
yeah,
do we call? Who can I know I had to learn how to use my village, so to speak.
sure.
I had to learn how to use my voice
Yeah,
to demand and tell people I'm not happy, but
yeah,
I'm okay. I'm getting better. This doesn't work for me anymore. I don't want to do that way. It's a growing process. It's a hard way to grow, but even when you have a tree, you have a seed, it has to bust through the shell and crack the seed open to grow. That's
yeah,
painful. I'm assuming,
yeah,
it looks like it's traumatic, but it's something that has to happen in order to get to the next phase of life.
yeah,
And I've always been a dreamer, a big dreamer. I daydream. I see all of these wonderful things happening, but I know for a fact that I cannot manifest those things unless I'm healthy and whole on the inside, on the outside, and and just being present with myself.
yeah.
And I had to give myself those gifts, just to be kinder, just to say you're not Superwoman and you don't have to be. I always was
Maybe.
acting like, I got to get straight A's. I worked in corporate. I'm a superstar. It's wonderful. It's great. But where do I have that time for a hug? Because I'm
Sure.
exhausted.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
saying that to people, like,
Yeah,
can I get a hug today? Like, I just wanted to come by and, I just want to see your face. I'm
yeah,
I'm notorious for doing drive-bys. When I have my vehicle, I used to drive to the people I needed. not even realizing I was using them then as a support system. And if
Mhm.
I would have checked in with myself, I probably wouldn't have gone through, that traumatic moment. It probably could have been a less traumatic moment, get some help as opposed to, plan to exit this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a very affectionate person and I love hugs. I love snuggles. I'm always
Mhm.
trying to get hugs and snuggles and stuff like that. But I've noticed about myself that I do a weird thing when I'm feeling vulnerable or sad or upset. My roommate, who's my best friend, I love her. And when when I look like I'm about to cry, she goes, "You want a hug?" And I go, "No,
Exactly.
no,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
right now." But I mean, I never turn down hugs with the
Yes.
exception of when I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm like, "No, get out of here." And the other day she was like, "I'm gonna hug you," and he was like, "Well, that's gonna make me cry more."
Exactly.
She
And
knew
just
I
telling
needed it.
ourselves it's okay to be vulnerable, finding that safe space to be vulnerable in. I
Yeah,
found it in spirituality and in therapy and in my community, but all of that together, it wasn't just one thing. You have to, there's a combination of things that go together. That's why we don't only talk about the kindness, we talk about the resources, understanding your health care. What are you
yeah,
entitled to?
yeah,
Right? Taking a time off if you need time off. Like we're trying to succeed so much that we forget we're not machines
yes.
and we do need downtime as well.
Yeah, yeah. This
Um,
this this idea that I love how Speak is set up with empowerment, action, and kindness, and I
mhm.
love that empowerment, which is what we're talking about today, is all about you can do this.
Yes, you
It
can.
is possible, and action is the resources, the finding insurance, the finding a therapist, finding the
Exactly.
medication, finding whatever, finding a church, whatever
Right.
you might need.
Whatever you need, let's
Yeah,
find it.
and the kindness aspect, looking at the entire person holistically. I'm so excited about this amazing
I am.
amazing program, which is really really set up for our people in our communities and erasing that stigma.
Yeah.
If you are just joining us today, we want to remind you again that um, we are launching the Speak Initiative all week. So we want you to go to that website, speaksuicideprevention.org. We want you to follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Speak Suicide Prevention. Use the hashtag It's Time to Speak. If you know anyone who might be affected by this, or maybe it's you yourself, by all means, go to our site, check out our services and the things that we're doing, and join our mailing list. You can get inspiration and support and resources and tools in your inbox,
Yes.
and we are super excited to have you there. If you are joining us, we see there's some people out there checking us out. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat, and
Yes.
any thoughts or ideas, please, and we'll be happy to share them. We're going to be asking those questions of the audience pretty soon. So, Rachel, let's talk about Speak, and let's talk about the programs.
Yes. So the programs themselves, we have empowerment programs that we are going to offer. Hold on, I just want to make sure I give you kind of like a summary of what those programs will actually encompass, right? So the foundation tools, some of the tools that we're going to use are like empowerment sessions, social media campaigns, virtual and live events. Through action, some of the tools we mentioned was research and resourcing, partnering with like-minded programs and other nonprofits, connection to free and low-cost mental health care in your location, primarily in New York City right now, but we never know what time will tell, right? Looking for Black and BIPOC medical professionals, right? We are not discriminating against any groups whatsoever. We also will have support for LGBTQIA community. And of course, as Kathleen mentioned, understanding your insurance, what you're entitled to, setting up, asking those questions. Sometimes I get anxious before I go to a doctor's appointment. Sometimes I might need a phone call to say, "Are you okay today? Are you good? You had that appointment, were you able to make it? Are you okay afterwards?" Right? Some of the basic things that people don't really think about that we still struggle with. And it's not always getting to the therapist, but there might be some steps before you even get to the therapist to work
Yeah.
through, right? So that's not an easy thing to tell people, go to therapy and go now.
Sure.
Sometimes we don't know how to get to therapy. How
Yeah.
do you determine who's a good fit for you? What are you entitled to? How many sessions? How long can it be? Do I have to pay out of pocket or not? Things of that nature really affect the type of and the quality of care you're going to have, right? And then the last tool of kindness, the tools that we're going to use is self-care and self-love practices and working with churches and other faith houses for support, meditation, affirmations, yoga and movement practices, breath work, music therapy. We're looking to partner with a lot of organizations to get these services done and enhance the program that we actually have. If we talk about the empowerment programs themselves, we will have what we're calling the Empowered Pause, where we have a live and online weekly sessions for speakers who are our participants in the program, and then listeners. And our listeners happen to be, your community, your providers, your family members, anyone who's supporting you. Those are our listeners. So we can actually come together and realize that it's not just my job to do X, Y, and Z, but I may need help from you sometime too, because I know you're really good at praying for me or speaking life into me. I have people that I speak to on a consistent basis to make sure I'm okay. And in turn, make sure they're okay too.
Yeah.
I opened up those conversations and transparency helps. I'm not saying, you got to go and tell people your business and no, but if you are with a therapist, you don't have to worry about that because they're not going to tell anyone your business. They
Right.
can't, right? That is the nature of the job. So the Empowered Pause, we'll have Speak Space, which is a weekly meeting, again, held online via Zoom and in real life. And that's just for the speakers to actually share all of their feelings for the week. Sometimes the week is not going to go well. It happens. Such is life. To come together with people who may be struggling too, who are part of our team to say, I had a bad week. Do you have any advice for me? Can you just, tell me if I need another book, if I need to go to a website, where can I go? What can we do? Right. And then Speak Out Loud is going to be a monthly open mic session online and again in real life when we're able to do that again. And it's specifically for the speakers. And it's based around healing and performing arts space, right? And I want to encourage the speakers to confidently live in their truth, right? To fearlessly and be who they are without shame. Let's take away all of the shame and all of the judgment. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked, and let's try something different, right? We will have action programs as well, and they're set up in understanding that in order to give ourselves a fighting chance, we have to do something.
Yeah.
We can no longer sit and just be comfortable. And actually, we're not comfortable when you think about it.
That part, we're not comfortable. No, not at all.
We're not comfortable. So let's get out of that moment and try to get to a better space. And, I remember intimately the days of being so depressed, I couldn't even eat and think straight, and no one knew. And if people had suspected, they didn't say, right? Because I was always masking it, and maybe they were afraid to say it to me, what they saw.
Wow.
But I know for a fact that now when I am encountering people I love and people who I interact with, that I can trust and be as transparent as possible. Because if you're leading with your truth, then nothing else matters.
Yeah.
It has to be your truth. And that's where what Speak is really about. Speaking your truth and living your life fully. Right. And then that takes action. Finding a healthy plan, finding a program that works. We want full mental health to freedom. And in that action, we actually are going to have a 90-day healing intensive program. And it's our flagship program. We're going to partner with the speakers for intense resourcing, problem solving, focus on healthy lifestyle, all of the components of Speak. They're going to go through that process. However, we don't stop at 90 days. It is 90 days in the beginning, but if a person still needs help, we are still here. And
Amen.
that's just it. We are not letting anyone walk alone and walk through this journey feeling like they don't have support.
Mm.
Because you can walk on your own 2 feet in any day, but when there are other people are able to carry you so you can rest for a moment, that's when we find our greatness. When you're able
Yeah.
to stop and say, okay, I need something.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what our needs are too. And in our culture, we don't talk about our needs, our wants. We just go along and do what's expected, and it's great. You can
Yeah.
accomplish a lot that way, but to live fully and wholly, I think we have to always go internal and get those whys, those questions answered.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. Everything that Speak is doing is so great. And you guys can learn more about what Speak is doing by visiting our programs page at speaksuicideprevention.org. I did want to ask you a question that I think is really important. You said you spoke about how you were going through things and people didn't really seem to know, or maybe they did know and they didn't say anything. Are
Right.
there any cues that you think we can pick up on? You know, our mom, our auntie, our son, our brother,
Mhm.
our boyfriend, our
Mhm.
cousin is, you know, anything that we can look for in terms of, you know, I just hate it when you find out, oh, and then the next day they committed suicide. It's like, what?
Right.
You
At
know,
the time, we always say we didn't know or what
yes,
was going on.
we didn't
Um,
know. Yes.
right. Sometimes it's really hard to tell with some people because if you have a secret, that's your secret you're holding on to. You don't want to tell anyone, especially when you're feeling that bad, right?
Yeah.
But there can be symptoms or actions that show what's going on. A person may start talking about death a lot. They may become withdrawn, start giving away their belongings,
Mm,
talking about, I wish I wasn't here, or I bet things would just be better without me.
mm,
Statements that, there's some truth in that. Sometimes kids will start saying things like that because, that's how we think sometimes as a child.
yeah.
But when you're feeling like that, period, as a child or adult, there's something going on.
Sure.
Ask the question, right? We have to start the conversation because if a person is giving off those signals, they 9 times out of 10 are really want help,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to say that, an attempt is a cry for help or, you just were seeking attention because my
Mm,
attempt was very, very structured and clear. And it's a miracle I'm here, right? I didn't ask for direct help. And I don't know if I was emoting any behaviors that were concerning, but
mm,
I know I wasn't asked if I was okay.
mm.
And I did have some challenging relationships and, things that were escalating that I would know to look for now.
Yeah.
But again, that was conversation that we did not have back in 2006 even. We just, we have the national suicide prevention hotline and all of these great programs that are out there, but sometimes we don't realize that they're for us too. We can use those
Absolutely.
things. They're here to
Absolutely.
help. And if you don't find that space, then this is why Speak is here. This is the
Right.
space where there's no judgment, there's no the only goals are to wellness.
Yeah.
All of the goals, the empowerment, the action, and the kindness is set up in a way for you to succeed, really, to
Yeah.
succeed in life, so you can actually do the things that you dream of, the
Yeah.
things that give us more life, to travel, to love on your kids and your grandkids, and all of those wonderful things. I'm very grateful that I did not succeed.
Mm.
I know one of my friends said if there were any failures to be celebrated, this is one,
Oh yeah.
right?
I'm
So
I'm elated that you failed. I didn't think
I'm
I
so
knew you.
excited that I failed. So yeah, it's bittersweet, but I know if I was feeling all of these things and undiagnosed for a very long time, and just I reached out of fear because I was afraid what was going to happen to me.
Mm.
I didn't know if I was going to be able to hold on. And ultimately, 10 years later, I still figured in my mind that that was the best thing to do. But as soon as I got it together, and it's funny because I still communicate with some of the healthcare practitioners who I connected with after the event, after the attempt, right? And they're like, when you write this book, please dedicate it to me so I can say, I knew you when. Like, it seems as though I used to downplay it, and it's not that bad to say, but in my journey, it was like, you had a really bad day. You
Mm.
had a really, really bad day. And I wasn't in a space to process the things that were happening in the moment. And
Sure.
that's what it was. It was just I was overloaded, and I made a bad decision that I really didn't mean to make. I just wanted the pain to stop. I just wanted
Mm.
the anxiety to stop, the feeling weird. And depression is a very painful condition.
Sure.
It can physically affect your body as well.
Yeah.
So, stomach issues, not feeling at, in tune with my body, things
Mm.
like that, that were really coming up. And it was like, I had to get mad. I was like, I don't want to be this anymore. I
Yeah.
don't want to do this. And now, if the universe decided to keep me here, then I'm
Yeah.
meant to be here. So
Yeah.
I say that with a lot of authority sometimes because I know I'm meant to be here. We
Yeah.
all are.
We all are.
We all are.
We all
We,
are.
we were born for a reason, and sometimes we don't know exactly what that is, but never give up that journey of the self-discovery. Because
Yeah.
once you find your purpose, once you have that
Mhm.
vision for yourself, I feel like nothing can stop you.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think there's such profound truth in what you said. I mean, I feel like, if we're talking about suicide, then we're not even ideating like the bigger stuff. If you're like, I
Right.
don't want to live anymore, you're not even ideating what life can look like past this moment. And if you're
Exactly.
looking at what life can look like past this moment, there is, love and
Mhm.
travel and friends and maybe a
All of
puppy
that.
and, all of these
Yeah.
things that can happen. Your life can look
Yeah.
entirely different.
Yeah.
Even with a diagnosis, your life can look entirely different. But
Exactly.
there does have to be some trying. And I love what we've been talking about tonight in terms of empowerment. Be empowered enough to be vulnerable. Be
Yes.
empowered enough to get help. Be
Yes.
empowered enough to say, I actually can't do this anymore. But that doesn't
Mhm.
have to be the end of the story. Just because you can't do it anymore doesn't mean someone can't be like, come here, give me your hand.
Yes.
We're gonna do it. Or,
Yes.
fuck it, don't give me your hand. I'm going to pick you up and I'm gonna
And
carry
I'm
you.
going to help you.
I'm
That's what
gonna help you.
I
Be
know.
vulnerable enough to say, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
But that doesn't, you not being able to do this anymore doesn't have to be the end of the story. It really,
Exactly. Exactly. We're human beings. We're not robots.
no.
We're gonna you need a minute.
Yes.
We need a few hours every day.
Yes.
Because if we were not human, we could go 24 hours, 7 days a week, and be fine. That
Yes.
is not the case. We do need to rejuvenate, renew, rebirth, all of those great things for yourself, and find out what you want out of life. Find out. It's not such a scary thing to say. I do have dreams, and I want to live a full life. And why is that not attainable for me? Yes, it is attainable for
It
all
is
of us.
attainable for you. I,
Right.
I hear that, and I hear that a lot actually from
Mhm.
different people, saying, "Oh, well, that's not for me. That's your life.
Right. No,
That's what for you. It's not for me."
I'm stubborn enough to believe that we all can have some type of internal peace.
Yes.
And something that will keep us here. It doesn't have to be you turn into a millionaire. Some people are okay just having a content space to live in and let's rest their head. Gratitude changes your attitude sometimes,
Hmm.
you know.
I'm so glad you spoke about money, because I do feel like for our people, we do feel like money will shift a lot of
Yes.
things, and I can list a lot of people with a lot of money who are
Hmm.
very not unhappy. I'm not saying that some money will not shift things
Yeah,
for you because economic stability is a thing. But
exactly.
I mean, Anthony Bourdain and Robin Williams, these people
Right.
who were at the 1% of the 1% in terms of success.
Yes,
You're not going to see that kind of success. Most people in their lives will never see that kind of success. And they
exactly.
absolutely had it. And it just
It
wasn't
wasn't
enough.
enough. It wasn't enough,
Wasn't enough.
right? I was in a position where, I'm single. I don't have any children. I'm working a great job. I have resources. I'm okay. Everything's good. And people would say, "How you can't be unhappy? Look at you. You have all of this
Mm.
stuff going for you." And that would make it worse sometimes because I
Yeah.
was upset with myself about, why are you not happy enough? You should be. You should be. That
You're
should word.
blessed. That's the whole
That
black and
should
right. You're
word.
blessed.
Yeah, I'm blessed. I know that, but I
Mhm.
still want to feel good too. I want to be
Yeah.
healthy and happy.
Yeah.
So that should word of, you should do this and you should be here. Have some grace with yourself,
Yes.
right? Because life happens.
Yes.
No one planned the pandemic. Well,
No one planned the
no one
pandemic.
planned for
No,
this, right?
absolutely not.
I didn't set up my schedule to say, okay, for the next 2 years we're going to be sitting at home. But we
Mhm.
had to adjust. We
Yeah.
had to, because we had no choice.
Yeah.
Your life is a matter of life and death when you're feeling like this. When
Yeah.
it's about your mental health care, you have no choice.
Yeah. I feel
You have
like
no choice.
my mentor told me, she was like, you need to stop shooting yourself. It's like little fist punches of shame.
Yeah,
Every should is a shame. And it's
it's
like you have to stop saying what should be,
right,
and just let's be transparent, what you said, transparent and authentic about what is.
right.
This
And
is
I'm
what
not
is.
saying don't have goals for yourself. We all want to do
Yeah.
better and get ahead and all of that. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Go internally and figure out what your vision is, what your passion is. If you're happy, if you're not, let's get there,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to be diagnosed with anything to still need some mental health support.
Yes.
People,
That
we,
part.
it doesn't mean we're crazy,
Sure.
or it just means I'm vulnerable. I'm hurting now.
Yeah.
This has happened and it's taken me for a loop. I might not feel like myself.
Yeah.
Something's off. My appetite has changed. I don't want to talk to my friends as much as I used to. I lost interest in the things I used to love. I'm more cynical than I used to be. All of those things are telltale signs that something's going on.
Mm.
Ask yourself, are you okay? It's okay to ask yourself that. We have to be okay in order to attain the other things that we want out of life.
Yeah.
You can get to it in the struggle bus, right? You can fight and fight, and some people will never feel like they don't want to be here or ever have a suicide ideation. That's fine, but there are some people who are and some people who do.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to those people, and I can't stop speaking to those people. To myself, I speak life. To the people in my life who I love, I want to encourage people that it's okay, and we're human, we make mistakes. There's no straight and narrow path to anywhere.
No.
It's unique for each person, and I think with speak, that's some of the selling points, right? It's customizable for each speaker.
Yes.
I want to see the true person. I don't want to see just a checkbox on a spreadsheet, or, I got 10 people, we did 10 meetings. No, 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 we're humans, and we should be treated as such,
Yeah.
and realize that, we feel we're human. It's part of life. It's a part of life, and that's something I had to come to terms with. I always wanted to be the stoic and I'm okay, I'm okay, and knowing I wasn't okay, and
Mm.
be afraid to say, you know what, I'm not okay.
Not okay. Yeah.
And I found my voice to say that and be honest with it, and use it to help people and use it to heal. My transparency, I hope, has assisted some people throughout the journey that I've been on. And
Yeah.
it's still freaky and scary to speak to the world about who I am, but I know that this life has meaning, and so I want to just give glory back to the universe that allows me to still be here.
Yeah.
I want to be here, and I want to meet those people who are giving up hope and say, no, no, don't give up just yet. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Come with me. Come for a short walk and see what we can do.
Let's
See what
see
we
what
can
we can do.
accomplish.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
we are about 5 minutes out. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I see a lot of people listening in. So I want to thank you guys for listening in and being active and really connecting with us. Thank you so much. We know it's a hard topic to kind of ask questions about, but I hope you got a lot out of it. Before we
Mhm.
go, I just want to thank you, Rachel, for
Thank
for
you.
speaking.
Thank
Right,
you.
for doing what you created this initial initiative for speaking, for sharing, for being honest about what you went through. You are going to change a lot of lives,
I
and
hope
I
so.
believe, universe, God, however you choose to understand her. I believe, that you woke up today 13 years ago because of this.
Yes.
She knew you weren't done.
For
She knew you
today.
weren't done, and that's amazing. So I'm so glad that you are speaking life and creating this amazing program. If you enjoyed what we talked about tonight, come back tomorrow. We are going to be sitting with Kiana Sidnor. She is a nurse. She is a doula. She is a freedom practitioner. She also does a lot of work with sexual trauma, and she's also a speaker. She is also a suicide survivor. And so we're
Yes.
super excited to meet her tomorrow on Friday. We're going to have Reverend Bridget Kelso, who's going to discuss the intersection between suicide prevention, our communities, the art,
Yes.
and social justice. So that's going to be a fantastic conversation too. So this whole week we are celebrating the birth of Speak Suicide Prevention, as well as the rebirth of Rachel Chenoa.
Yes.
And she will be with us for the rest of the week as well. So if you enjoyed it, come back tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Also, got to plug it again. Follow us on all the social networks.
Follow.
Just follow Speak Suicide Prevention. Don't forget to use the hashtag It's Time to Speak. And this session will be up on our page, so you can go back and take a look anytime you want.
Awesome.
And if you need more, go ahead and visit our page. We are ramping up these programs as we speak. We just open, but Rachel is going to be back there cooking up some good stuff for you guys. And you are so worthy of voice. You are so worthy of the ability to speak. So thank you so much. Any last words or comments from our amazing director and creator, Miss Rachel Chenoa?
I just want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And hopefully I've just put a little thought in there. It's okay. We can all be okay, and we can live fully if we decide to speak, right?
We can leave fully if we decide to speak. That's a
Let
wonderful
your voice be heard. Let your
Yes.
voice be heard.
Yes.
Have a great evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you tomorrow. If you have time, same bat time, same bat channel. We're right here. Thank you again, Kathleen. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for doing this. I am inspired. I am in awe, and I am so happy. We will see you guys tomorrow. Join us for our guest speakers tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.